Greetings and welcome to another Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Kill Team Nachmund box. Before we get into things, I just want to say thanks to Games Workshop for providing this for me for free to review early for you guys. For free. And as always, I try to be impartial and constructively critical and just honest about my feedback. And yeah, before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment about what you think of the new box and what you think of the video as a whole. And for this video, what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to do 3 videos. So I'm going to do one on the Nachmund box itself, briefly cover the kill teams, and then I'm going to have separate videos of each other kill team, which you can check out yourself if you want a more in-depth look at those kill teams. And there will be an accompanying article for those who are interested, but it'll have a brief look at the kill teams because I can somehow do more in-depth coverage via video than an article. But yeah, let's just get into the contents. So first we have the narrative. So Nachmund is set in the Nachmund sector of the Warhammer 40,000 universe. And if you weren't aware, basically with the start of 8th edition, the Eye of Terror has exploded with chaos energies. And now there's a gigantic chaos tear going across half of the galaxy. And this sector of the universe called Nachmund is one of the few points where there is safe travel from one side of the galaxy to the other, with enough space for entire fleets to fly through. And because of this, it's highly contested between the Chaos and Imperial forces, but also the Aldari, who are natural enemies of Chaos and have been launching raids on Chaos forces to find out their plans and interfere with their plans as a whole. So the sector is quite bustling with activity, but outside of those big 3, you also have minor Xenos and heretics just operating within the sector itself. So compared to other sectors we've covered previously, like Octarius and Chalnath, there's actually not too many forces involved, despite this being such a critical junction for the universe. And this is basically where our kill team is set, because for the Aldari faction, the largest force actually involved in the sector is the Corsairs, who are raiding and attacking for basically every faction of the Aldari for various reasons, whereas obviously the Chaos are very active because they're trying to uproot as many Imperial safe points as they can and cause as much chaos to turn the area to chaos control. No, I'm not talking about Sonic. But yeah, that's pretty much it for the narrative. So for the contents of the box, you actually get a lot. So the terrain is a bit up in the air. I'll get to the terrain in a bit. But you basically get a lot of reprinted terrain, and you get one brand new kill team, which is the Aldari Corsairs, which are in the Aldari Codex. And then you also have an updated Chaos Space Marine kill team using the new Chaos Space Marine plastic kit for the troops, with an upgrade sprue for kill team. And both are new kill teams, but you've got one new unit and one old unit with a new upgrade sprue. And within that you have the Nachmund Book, which goes over all the contents and rules, as well as the narrative for the setting. And then you've got your instruction guide, which shows you how to build everything for each kill team and all the terrain. So going briefly over the Nachmund Book, as I said, it covers the narrative, and it's another thin booklet, it's just like your standard softback A4. It's got a good section on narrative, going over like name generation for both kill teams, the setting. Obviously it covers the rules for each kill team as well as their narrative rules in case you're more of a narrative player, but also it's got all the competitive rules if you're playing competitively. And it has everything you need for these 2 kill teams. The nice thing about this book is that, as with other books being released for Kill Team, they also have a bunch of narrative missions, so 9 in total, using the terrain in the box with fixed terrain layouts for you to use if you're just playing straight from the box. So it's very useful for players who are new to the game. And, they're narrative missions, so they're not competitively balanced, but they're still great for people who are just buying the box to play outside. Well, play with just the contents of the box. So it's a great book overall for making sure you get maximum usage out of everything. Obviously, you don't get any dice or templates, which is a minor downside, but I'm not too upset about that. But it is something to mention. Now, here are the kill teams. I'll go over the Aldari Corsairs first, and then I'll do the Chaos Space Marines. I'll keep it brief. As I said, I'll be doing dedicated videos for their own, but just to give you a brief overview. So for the Aldari Corsairs, they can either do Seek and Destroy or Recon, which is limiting, and they have a leader and then can pick 8 other operatives, which is a bit problematic. So you've got your leader, you can have a gunner, a heavy gunner. Notably, you cannot have both a heavy gunner and a gunner in the same kill team. You also get the Starstorm Duelist, a Kernite Hunter, a Shade Runner, Kurnathi, a Fate Dealer, a Wayseeker, and a Soul Reaver. And their special ability is Aldari Raiders, so every time they activate, they can perform a free dash action, that activation. And obviously it still has to be a legal dash, so you can't charge and dash or dash and charge, but, you know, they have some nice inbuilt mobility. But the biggest problem from the roster is the fact you can't take a gunner and a heavy gunner. And I believe this is for balance reasons, but it massively hurts the damage output of the kill team, because everyone's like, oh, you're gonna run a blaster and a Wraith Cannon. There's no way you wouldn't. And they got around that by not making you being able to do that. But like outside of the gunners, they have no real good ranged output. Your leader can have a nice neuro pistol, but your sniper is heavy with no AP. Sure, it hits on 2s with mortal wounds 4. Well, only 4 dice. It's really hard to use. And I feel they were oversold in the previews, because the bird in the preview said it can just turn off conceal. The bird only turns off conceal on a dice roll. So I'll bring up the rules now. So for the Kernite Hunter, Fallow Chew, it's bird. For 1 action point, you select 1 enemy operative with a conceal order that is visible and roll a d6. You add 1 to the result if the enemy operative is within red, if that enemy operative is not ready, and then if that enemy is not within black of heavy cover. On a 6+ until the end of the turning point, all your other operatives consider the enemy operatives as if it had an engage order. You cannot perform this while in engagement range of another operative. The problem is, at best, it's going to work on a 4-up, and because, you know, you would pick someone who isn't ready, and you would pick someone who is not within heavy, so it's already working on a 4-up. And then if you're doing within red, you're probably going to lose the operative because you're running your bird guy forward just to hope this triggers on a 3-up. So what you have is an operative who just kind of works half of the time, and then otherwise he's just got a shuriken pistol and a power sword. And you kind of go, oh. And my big problem with all the shuriken weapons is they're 3/4, which is fine, but they have rending, which is nice as well, but they're not AP1. And you go, oh, that would be too strong. 3/4 damage, AP1. And I was like, but the Codex has that, and that's why the heavy weapon the sniper rifle is heavy, because it's heavy in the Codex. So it's really confused. Like, even if it had rending and piercing as a crit, I think it would be much better. But the shuriken weaponry feels quite kind of underpowered. And their other operatives are, like, it's not that they're bad. Their psych has, like, a lot of good utility, and they have some interesting stratagems. I think my favorite is probably Light Fingers as a tactical ploy, where they can perform mission actions for free, including pickup, and then Plunderers, which is just some nice free dashes during your strategy phase. It's just, you know, when you only have 9 operatives with a 4-up save and 8 wounds, kind of feels like they're not bad. It's just, it's really well balanced, is what I'll put it. But the problem is it's too balanced. And this is where people will probably disagree with me. But when you're like, but from a competitive standpoint, when you're looking at stuff, you want to see how many times it legally breaks the rule system. And, you know, obviously these guys can't beat Pathfinders, but the problem is Pathfinders at the time of writing need some kind of toning down. But even then, I feel they struggle against Novitiates and probably Harlequins as well. And it's not that those kill teams I've just mentioned are like too good. They do need toning down. But But like even commanders will probably give these guys a run for their money, which is interesting. So I think if they were 10 operatives altogether and you could just select a gunner and a heavy gunner, I think it would be fine because all their heavy gunners have heavy. So they can't move and shoot. They can only dash and shoot. You've got your Psychic Power Warp Fold, where you could move your Psyker onto a vantage point, then Warp Fold to get your heavy gunner into position. But then doesn't have silent, so just be firing in the open. Then you could always try and risk doing a second Psychic Power to give that guy free up invuln. But, you know, it's very dicey. And, yeah, it feels like this kill team is fairly balanced, but too balanced, which is weird. Because I'm not trying to say they're bad, they're just really balanced, which people would like to hear. And I think it's following the design philosophy they've had with the White Dwarf kill teams. So I feel like the physical releases caught up to the White Dwarf releases. I mean, to the White Dwarf releases in terms of balance, which is good. The only problem is they need to go back and address the stuff which is overpowered. But the kill team is fun. Like the TAC Ops, let me bring it up for the Void Corsairs. So I think their TAC Ops are really thematic. Like you've got their first one, which is if you score more victory points, you score more. Then you've got like Opportunist, where you pick key targets, and if you kill them and claim the stuff they were carrying, you get victory points. And then you also have a TAC Op to collect, which is weird, where you collect the soul stones of the stuff you die with, that stuff that of yours that dies, which is fine. But what I like is it forces you, it's kind of win more TAC Ops, because you go like, well, obviously I'm going to play really well, so I'm going to pick Flawless Raid, Opportunist, because I'm going to kill my chosen targets and loot them. And then obviously I'm going to have no one die. It's very fitting, and I think it's fun. My only downside is they're too balanced, which is weird to say. It's not a bad thing, but it is worth mentioning. They're too balanced, like the Elder Codex in 40k. But I think they're amazing miniatures. They are so nice. Like they all have head options, like helmet options or bare heads. I'll probably go all helmets. And I love how it has the imagery of like the Yanari, where the Yanari have basically pre-fall Eldar armor. So it's a mixture of Craft World and Drukhari armor. And it just looks so cool. Like it looks like the perfect blend of the Aldari culture, which is what the Corsairs represent. So they're really cool. And I can see people just buying them because of how they look, because they look amazing and they play like pirates, which is great. So now we come to the Legionnaires, or the Chaos Space Marines, however you call them. So these are an elite kill team, and elite kill teams have a massive problem in kill team at the moment because they don't have enough bodies to compete. They have more APL, but the moment they start losing operatives, it's game over. So the Legionary kill team is, you can take 1 leader and 5 operatives, which is, I'll get into it in a minute, but they can take security or seek and destroy. And that's a great combination because security is amazing. So security is great. So you can either you've got 2 leaders to pick from, a Legionary Chosen or a Legionary aspiring champion, but you will go with the Chosen. And then you've got 5 Legionaries to pick from, a Warrior, a Gunner, Heavy Gunner, Icon Bearer, Anointed, Butcher, Balefire, Acolyte, and Shrive Talon. But you can only include each operative once apart from your basic warrior. And they all have the Mark of Chaos special rule. So when adding an operative on your roster, you must give them a Mark of Chaos. But notably, you can only pick between 5: Khorne, Nurgle, Slaanesh, Tzeentch, and Undivided. But the key thing is your roster cannot mix keywords. So for example, if you have any operatives with the Khorne keyword, you can't have any Slaanesh. And if you have any Nurgle, you cannot have any Tzeentch. And basically, it locks you into 3 keywords where you're always going to have 1 Undivided or whatever, but you're only going to ever have 2 of each Chaos God. And I think the best combination is Khorne and Tzeentch, which I'll get to in a minute. So it's interesting they've locked you out in the roster. But the biggest thing is I think the kill team desperately needed to be 6 Legionnaires and a leader. But we'll get onto that. So if you have a Mark of Chaos, if you have Khorne, each time you find combat, if you didn't roll any critical hits, you can strike with 1 normal hit as if it was a crit, which is great. Nurgle, In the roll defense dice of a shooting attack, you can retain 1 normal save as a critical save, which is great. Slanesh adds 1 black of movement to your move, which is great. Tzeentch is amazing. So each time you make a shooting attack, you can retain 1 of your attack dice results of a 5-up as a crit, which is, so good. And then Undivided, each time you fight in combat or make a shooting attack, if you're within red of the opponent, you can reroll 1 of your attack dice, which is fine. But the key thing is Favored of the Dark God. So once per turning point, when you're issuing strategic ploys, if you have any of these operatives in the kill zone, you can do 1 of the according stratagems for free. So if it mentions, like, if you have Khorne operatives, you can use a Khorne, 1 of the Khorne strategic ploys for free, and Tzeentch, and so on. And, like, that's why I think Khorne and Tzeentch are the best, because Khorne, you'll put on your melee stuff, and Tzeentch is obviously going to go into all your shooting stuff. Because Nurgle is nice and defensive, but because you're an elite kill team, you want to be pushing your damage. And whilst Slanesh is nice, Khorne has the better stratagem supports. But they've got some really cool stratagems. I like the Tzeentch one where you get a 4-up invuln for shooting for your strategic ploys, and also you've got a nice Protected by Fate, which is okay. But then I like Blood for the Blood God. So each time you perform a charge action, your first strike inflicts 1 additional damage, which is important for 1 of your operatives because it means they can do 8 damage on the charge, which is effectively killing a lot of stuff in 1 hit. And yeah, you know, Nurgle has some nice damage negation, and Slanesh has some interesting damage output. Like if you roll a crit, you get +1 to your damage for your melee weapons. But I think Tzeentch and Khorne are just the best options. And it's disappointing you're locked out of what you can select in the roster. I think if it was for your kill team, that would be fine. But really limiting what you can do in the roster hurts the kill team as a whole, especially as it's only 6 operatives. Now, I think the key ones to talk about operative-wise is, you know, the Reaper Chain Cannon, I didn't think would be that good, because the reason the Tzeentch one is so good in Warp Coven is because it has AP 1. This one has no AP, whereas the Heavy Bolter, you can fire twice and with a stratagem, and it has piercing on a crit. With 5 dice, you have a 50% chance, so the Heavy Bolter is just better. But the Legionary Butcher, you always make Khorne, because when he charges, he gets to reroll his dice. He gains Relentless, and he's got 4 dice, 5/7. So if he charges into someone, he's going to, if he rolls a crit, that's 8 damage with Blood for the Blood God. So that's one-shotting most of the operatives in the game. And even without doing that, it's 5/7. So it's just great. I like the Shrive Talon, who is basically a Night Lord, but is very situational. And unfortunately, between the leaders, you just always take the Chosen because he gets a Demon Blade and he has an amazing meme head. Here are some of my favorite memes from this guy. It's amazing. Like the meme potential is like the full power of chaos has been unleashed here. But even then, yeah, their tac ops, let me get to that. So their tac ops aren't too bad. You know, Sacrilegious Mutilation is pretty good. Dark Desecration is fine. But Savage Butchers is pretty much unscorable. But overall, the kill team's pretty solid. Like, yeah, I think the problem it will come with is, like, you can't beat Pathfinders, can't beat Harlequins, because Harlequins at the moment, like, they have too many operatives, and they just go, like, fly over terrain and kill them. And then I think they would struggle versus Novitiates because Novitiates outnumber them. So it's really interesting in that regard. But they're a really solid kill team with a lot of narrative power. And like the Corsairs, they're really well balanced and very thematic. So if you've wanted to play a roving Chaos Warband or even dedicate all your Legionnaires to a single Chaos God, you're going to be able to do that. And that's great. I just wish you could have taken a leader and 6 operatives because, you know, if you take the compendium, you can take 3 Chaos Space Marines and like 7 or 8 Chaos Cultists, which helps much more, and they have redeploys and stuff. This kill team has no real redeploys, and you kind of struggle with that, and minimal APL modification, although everyone's APL free. So kind of tough, but I don't like, it's a really good kill team. I'm just not sure if it makes elite kill teams work. I need to play a lot to find out. But yeah, I think it's still a good kill team overall. And now for the terrain. You actually get a bunch of, it's all reprinted stuff. So you've got what do you call them? Let me just bring it up. So you get 2 thermic plasma regulators, which are your vantage points. You get hatches and exhaust vents, where the hatches are just a narrative thing, but the exhaust vents are really good portable line of sight terrain. They're just basically smoke grenades. So you get 2 permanent smoke grenades. The power relay substation is pretty cool from the pipes. Obviously, pipes are light and traversable, but having dedicated rules is really nice. Like, you can salvage for 1 action point, and then on a free up, you gain 1 CP, and then you can't do it again. But it's pretty nice just to have in the middle of the board, so it's interesting. You've got a crane, which is just heavy. Then you've got the ferrotonic furnace, which is scalable if you climb via the ladders. Otherwise, it's heavy with light vantage points. And then, as I said, you've got the pipes. But then you've got the full reservoir, which is just heavy. And then the smog stack, which is heavy and toxic smog. So on a 5-up, it starts pumping out smoke, and then you can turn it off for an AP. But it reduces your defense while within blue of it. So it's a weird terrain piece, and nothing game-changing here, because in Chownoff you got scalable and doors and hatches as universal terrain rules. So you've got some nice unique rules here, but nothing too heavy-handed. But the terrain is actually pretty nice for what you get, and it's very obscuring, which is nice, because I thought it wouldn't be much, but once you all have it on a normal kill team board, there's actually a lot of terrain. So there's no containers, but you get a crane. But it's a nice selection of terrain. You got 2 vantage points. Well, you got 3 vantage points. So yeah, it's pretty. I already have 2 plasma conduits. Now I have 4, and now I have another set of pipes, which is great. And I think if you have most of the terrain is pretty useful here, which is nice. Obviously, some isn't, like the crane and like the pipe, like the furnaces, like the smog stacks are debatable. But overall, it's a really nice selection of terrain, which I think will be quite useful. But yeah, that's pretty much it for my review of the Nachmund box. For my pros and cons, I think pros are you've got 2 really thematic kill teams that are very well balanced and are fun to play. You have the freedom to represent how they are in the narrative and to almost do what you want with them. Like, even the kits are just amazing, especially the Corsairs. You've got a nice selection of terrain, and there's not many massive rules changes that have been added via these terrain traits. It's just a nice box to buy. Like, you've got a good solid narrative, you've got narrative missions. I think the only downside is, as I said, there's no dice, but that's just a minor thing. As for the cons, I think the only cons is maybe would have liked to see, instead of the crane, maybe a container or 2. That's just about it. The other thing is just for the kill team balance. So ideally, I think both kill teams should have had 1 more operative each. And it's really weird. They are well balanced, but if you're like a hyper competitive player or just competitive and you're going, oh, I need to buy these because they're the best, they're not actually the best. They're still good, but they're not as good as Pathfinders, Novitiates, or Harlequins, which with the Pathfinders and Harlequins are very problematic kill teams that need to be addressed. So it's a weird con in terms of, if Games Workshop doesn't address the Pathfinders and Harlequins, and then they'll probably have to address Novitiates once those 2 are nerfed, then you're in a situation where going forward, I'm very happy with the idea of balance for the game, but then Pathfinders and Harlequins will just keep on becoming more problematic as the game goes on. But yeah, it's a great box, and I'm really, really hyped with the setting. I can't wait to see what they do next. I'm hoping for something like maybe Necrons versus Tyranids, like Gene Stealers weird. Maybe an updated warrior kit or something, although it wouldn't be, maybe 10 warriors, something like that. I'd really love Necrons and Tyranids, but I'd be interested to hear what you say. As I said, if you want a full in-depth guide of the kill teams, I'll have them linked in the episode description. And if you're interested in buying what I've been talking about today, you can check out my affiliate link in the episode description below to Element Games. It'll net you about a 20% discount while being at no additional cost to yourself and helping to support myself and the channel. So feel free, if you're in the UK and I think Europe, if you want to check out for a nice discount, helping to support me. But yeah, please like and subscribe and comment at below as what you thought of this review and what you think of the box. Are you going to buy it? And are you interested by it? Has my review changed your mind in any way? I am once again really glad Games Workshop sent this to me for free. I'm currently building and hopefully will be able to paint out my Corsairs in time. But I'm so happy I get to play the Corsairs. They're just beautiful because I'm building my Elder army again. But that's pretty much it. And I don't think there's much else to cover. Obviously, I've broken this down, so this video should be out 20 minutes, 20, instead of watching a massive hour-long video. So let me know if you prefer them broken up or as one massive video. But yeah, until next time, even if you get lost in the perilous area between Chaos and the Immaterium in Nachmund, remember, you can always roll a crit.